All right. Well, I guess we'll just get firing off then. The test method. I think Aaron, we've talked about this a few times, so
Oh, yeah.
nothing super new, but definitely puts it back in perspective.
I thought that was cool. What the sending the video of yourself.
Yeah.
That if someone's not able to do that, then they're probably not gonna like what we do in here because
Yeah.
you're on camera a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
You know.
Yeah, and Cardone does the same thing. They're like, send us a video. That's part of the process. If you can't get comfortable sending a video, then you're probably, like you said, you're not going to be able to really fit in.
Yep.
And it's an easy first test, right?
Totally. And I think the general concept, if you don't look at the specifics of it, of just coming up with some weed out moves to really thin the herd and see, okay, if they need to be able to do this. So whether it's a test, that little video, even like if we were getting really deep into it, we paid someone to accomplish a task to see what they can come up with,
Yeah.
On certain hires might not be a bad idea eventually.
I think the aptitude test is pretty critical for us because we've definitely found that our expectations for what is normal aren't going to line up probably with the vast majority, right? And it's not to say that there's not, personality always is going to be the first test. Like, do you got the right personality? And that's huge, right? You can teach people how to do stuff, but you can't teach people how to have a good attitude.
Right.
But to have the basics, like, hey, you've described, like, here's a spreadsheet. This is what I want it to look like when you're done with it. Make it happen, right? And if they can't do that, well, that's a big indicator that, okay, well, I'm going to spend a bunch of time training somebody how to do this thing.
Yeah.
Versus them just being ready to jump in and go. And I think that his example of the thoughtful gift made me think of you and Alonso, right? Thoughtful gift. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Can you send this person a thoughtful gift? And if that person can't go do that for Dan, right? He's like, okay, well, it's a pretty big indicator that this person's not going to save me time.
Yeah.
Because they're coming back to me, asking me to solve their problem, right? But the problem was, go solve it yourself. There's our boy. See, David made it.
Welcome, David.
I'm still a couple minutes late, but I made it on somewhat on time.
Hey man, whenever you start your day in a vehicle,
Yeah.
Especially in this area.
So you jumped in pretty close to the beginning of our discussion. So we were just talking about, like, for Dan, he requests or requires a candidate to send in a video, like, 3-minute video of why you want to work here, kind of a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Cardone Ventures and Cardone Enterprise people do the same thing. It starts with a video, and their reasoning and rationale for it is, their organization does a lot of things on Zoom, right? They did a lot of video stuff. So if somebody's not willing to send in a video, then for them it's a first test fail, just to be like, well, if you can't do video, then you're probably not going to fit in here very well, right?
Oh, for sure.
And then the use of, like, test projects, that's something we've talked about in here, but we haven't figured out how to actually implement. But just to give somebody a task that is reflective of what their job is going to be is a big help, right? Because if they can't pull it off, then that you're going to end up being the fallback for them every time they have a problem or an issue, right? right?
Yeah, and
Come
here's
back
an
to you.
example. So if someone tells me they can use Excel on their resume, I'll be the judge of that because I'm gonna give them that, and I want to see if they can use functions like basic stuff, sum, and they know how to. And I don't know, maybe it might be the best that we sit here with them and watch them do it because
Mhm.
I want to see how, like, honestly,
I'm
like
never putting Excel on my resume
how
ever
they move
again.
their mouse. Because I watch people and I'm just like, and I'm like, oh man, okay. Not anyone in this room, but
I feel attacked.
yeah.
Well, Grant talks about that too in his book, Be Obsessed or Be Average. He says, give them a task to do, and if they can't do the task, then thanks for stopping by. But it's definitely not something I think traditionally that I'm used to. I mean, as Dan said when he started, he said, when I first started hiring people, I checked for a pulse, negotiated a price, and put them to work, right? And that's kind of, especially in construction, I want to say that's kind of the default. Like, we just hire people and then hope that they work out. And, that model really creates a lot of lag in performance, right? Because you spend maybe 5 to 6 months with somebody to figure out if they're really getting it or not. So be a good practice for us to start figuring out how to become better operators. Right? So,
True that.
anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's important to have the tasks done here in office or near you because my experience is that they have their spouses, engineering spouses or family members do all the tests for them.
That would be sneaky.
And then they come in and they're typing with 2 fingers,
Oh my God.
and you're like, really? You passed those tests? Okay.
ChatGPT.
Love the chat.
For me, I don't know where I stand or how I can give out my opinion, but for my personal experience, for my little years of work experience as well, all of my jobs, I've been the personality hire. Every single one of them. I did not have the skill set. I did not know what I was doing. I just went in there and I was like, let's go.
See?
I'm going to speak on that. That's because I don't remember the results from the test, but you get a thing, and if it's a challenge, even if it's not a challenge, you're like, I will accomplish this. I will figure it out. Like if I'm struggling with something, you're like, let's figure this out. And I'm like, I'm okay to let it go. You're like, no, we're gonna get this. You're like driven. Like when we built the Lego.
Oh, the church.
Right? You were like, we will finish.
Alice was like, no, but I can't finish this. I'm like, yes, we can. Let's go.
I'm like, I'll work on it later. You're like, no, we're doing it now.
Computer finisher. So at the hotel, what was the hiring process there?
So
Not for you, but like in general, when you guys were looking to hire somebody, what was the process?
the process to hire there was we just looked if they had honestly hotel experience. That was the one thing that we would look at. But then if they didn't have it, they either had to have a college degree or somewhat a hospitality, especially when you're going to work there. On my side, I did not have any hotel. I did not have any hospitality. I did not work at any big companies. I was coming straight from Starbucks. It was my references that did me really good and my brother that worked there, and he had a good relationship with the department that I was going into.
Nepotism.
Exactly.
All right.
So what we did there was we first go through with HR. They go explain what the role is. They ask me basic questions like, what would you do in X and X situation? And then next it's with the director of the department. She asks basically the same questions, but in a different way to see if your answer is going to be different. That's what I noticed. And then after that, depending on the role that you're going for, you're either gonna do another interview with the manager or of the department or the hotel manager. So on this one, then they will just walk around the hotel with you. They will explain what you're gonna do again, and then they just ask same questions, but in a different way to see what your answers are gonna be again. So that was the 3 steps. And for me, I think they only hired me because of the personality, because I had no experience.
With the time you were there, I think I asked you at one point about turnover. You said there's a lot of turnover. A lot of turnover, right?
A lot of turnover. But the main reason was because I think is the HR department, because they didn't really know how to handle the situations. And the lady that was down there, she wasn't really a big fan of her own job, so she loved screwing other people over. But
my job, and I'm taking it out on you.
Exactly. But the main reason why they had big turnovers is because we hire lots of people coming from Europe or Asia, because they are the ones that go to La Roche. That's the best hospitality school in the world. So, and it's cheaper to get people from outside because they never take PTO. They will never take their time off because they're only here in the United States to work. And they're coming with good baggage of school. So for them, they love hiring people from outside, not the United States.
Fascinating. Aaron, what's your most memorable experience when you were interviewing for other companies?
Okay, so it was a test. It was an internship I was in college at Sac State. It was an internship for Mark Thomas and Company, a roadway design engineering company. Perfect job. I could skateboard over there in between classes and work like 2 hours, learn AutoCAD, come back, go to class, go back for another couple hours. So it was like this, nice. And I go in, this girl in one of my classes comes back and she's like, I just had my Mark Thomas interview. And I was like in junior year at that point. She's like, they tested me on surveying, which is like a pretty low level engineering class, right? So I had to do surveying. They tested me on this, and this, and she like spouted off all these subjects that I hadn't really focused on in a while. So I busted out my surveying book. I went and talked to my old surveying teacher, and I was like, hey, his name was John something. He was cool, but I've studied up on, like, there's this thing called, I think it's called chains. They used to measure distances in chain lengths, like 16 feet or something. So I was like brushing up on that. I go into the interview, I'm all studied up, and they give me this test that was basically not passable. But I put all this info down, and I was just like, I was stressing about it. I ended up getting the job, and then I hear later from the guy in my design group. He was like, hey, like months later, he's like, I just found out that they gave you guys a test at the interview, and I just wanted to say, I'm sorry about that. They shouldn't have done that. That test was not passable. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's all good, dude. I got the job. But yeah, that was, I spent like a good week brushing up on all kinds of stuff I didn't have to.
Right.
I mean,
but I guess when you look back, I wanted that job. So
Yeah.
It got you prepared for something.
Yeah.
And it was the way you answered it must have stood out way more than all the other people, right?
Especially if they knew if the test wasn't passable, they saw the effort that you put into it.
The whole thing was covered in writing. It's like I filled out every blank space on there and just kept going. I came up with answers for stuff, But that was my most memorable.
See, at least they knew that it was an impassable test, and you still tried.
Yeah,
it's nice.
How about you? Hiring stories?
I tested for the San Jose School Unified district. And my neighbor works for them. So she was showing me things because it's all Apple. And it was when Apple was new. And she was showing me stuff, I guess, like how to do certain graphs and things. And so when I went in to take the test, she forgot to show me how to open up the Apple, and I could not figure out how to open the friggin', I couldn't even work the mouse. Everything was just so different. And I just went, this is so flippin' embarrassing. And it was really, they had like 5 apps open. So I guess they wanted to see me close the apps and find the right one to open. And I couldn't even.
Wow.
It was so bad. I was so embarrassed. And I was like, and then Marcy was like, how'd it go? I'm like, well, we didn't cover the basics on how to get in there. I'm like, I knew how to get into the Excel and everything from that, but I didn't know how to enter. So it was just so bad.
Oh God.
So
When I worked for the rental car company, the guy gave me a stack of tolls, like from the $7 tolls, and he was like, figure this out. And I was like, figure what out? And then he goes, what do you think needs to be done with these? And I was like, I looked at it, I saw that some were expired, some weren't, and I was like, wait a minute. So then I separated what needed to be done immediately and what was okay. And then he was like, okay, now open the computer and pay it off. And I was like, okay. So I open the computer, I go, what is it called? Fasttrack.com. And then I paid it off. I was like, okay, no, you're good. You're good to go. This is what you're gonna be doing the most.
I got one for you guys. So my first like couple weeks at Barry Swenson, they handed me, it was for Hollister Fire Station number 2. It was all the certified payroll records for the job. And they're like, hey, we need to audit this and make sure everyone paid everyone. I got the breakdown. She's like, if it's off by a penny, then we need to know. So I had this huge stack. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here? So I just created a spreadsheet by default.
Right.
I was like, okay, start building
Sells
a
my
spreadsheet.
friend.
And I remember the reaction I got was like, they were flabbergasted that I just opened Excel and made this spreadsheet and,
Okay.
tallied everything, like supposed to be paid, delta, boom, 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 and
Right.
just went week to week for all these subs. Took me a couple weeks, and I never thought about it, but if like looking at what the growing pains we've had with like, bringing new people in that are like not, and this isn't about you, Sam, but people that are supposed to know Excel and don't, it's like, wow, I guess that, I don't know. Sometimes I take those technical skills for granted, and I think it's like a given, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely.
Well, I can jump in with a couple of stories.
Yeah.
When I was coming out of college to come into construction, when I went to college, I thought I was going to be I was going to go to work for Caterpillar, go make heavy equipment, not use it. And I pivoted in my senior year of college to go to construction. Had no construction experience whatsoever. Like my dad was a roofer. That's all I knew. And it was so interesting seeing the range of hiring practices from different companies. I interviewed with a lot of general contractors. And so most general contractors, it was similar to Sandy's experience. It was like a personality hire. They basically were like, we know you don't know anything about construction. We are willing to teach you. Are you a good fit for the team? And are you willing to learn? And I had one contractor who I won't name, who the first word out of his mouth when I interviewed was, oh, you don't have any construction experience. It's going to be very hard for you to find a job in this industry. And that was my first ever construction interview. And I kind of took a attitude of like the Michael Jordan meme. And I was like, well, I took that personally.
Yeah.
And then only one company actually ever asked me for my GPA or made me take a test while interviewing that was Morley Builders down south. And my GPA was awful, but they asked me for my GPA and they had me take a test. And I was like, what? Like, I had no idea what any of the stuff on the test was. I was like, what am I supposed to be doing for this? And then, yeah, but I ended up going to work for Turner Construction coming out of college. Again, had no experience whatsoever in construction. And they sent me to SoFi Stadium. And the best thing that they ever did, obviously they're a large company with a lot of resources, but my first 6 months, I was a safety manager out there. And my only job was to go walk around on the job site and talk to the subcontractors and talk to the guys doing the work in the field. And it was like to keep them safe, basically. But I was like, I took that as an opportunity. I was like, well, I'm going to go learn how all these guys do their jobs and just go hang out with the iron workers and go hang out with the foreman of the grading crew and just go ask him a bunch of questions until he shoos me away. And nobody ever shooed me away because all their significant others and their families were tired of hearing them talk about it, but they loved to talk about their work. So they would more than happily talk to some young 21-year-old kid who knowingly went up to them and said, I don't know crap. Teach me how to do this. I have no idea how you guys do your work. Teach me how to do it. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me, was spending 6 months just having basically no responsibilities other than to learn. And if I love that idea. I think if companies can afford to do that, that's the best way to teach college kids how to be in construction, is go let them get slapped around by the iron workers a couple of times and get their whatchamacallit, knock them down a couple of pegs from their high horse of having a college degree. And because most kids coming out of college were not like me. They had this air of superiority about them, that I was better than, I'm better than everybody else out here because I have this fancy schmancy degree. And I had some people cuss me out. I had one guy tell me, my first interaction with this iron worker was he told me to go eat a bag of dicks. And and you know what? And I could take that one of two ways. I could either get really angry at that and throw him off the job for insulting me, or what I chose to do was laugh along with it and understand that it was a joke and he wasn't personally insulting me. And we actually became best friends on the job for the next 3 months until he left.
Yeah.
And I would go shake his hand every day, and it was a great relationship. But you got to teach. But yeah, that's my those are my construction hiring stories.
Nice.
But I think in construction it's hard to do, unless you're doing experienced hires. It's hard to do skills-based hiring, for entry-level construction folks. It's not like tech. I have a bunch of friends who are software engineers, and the amount of crap that they have to go through to get a job in tech is just outrageous.
Right.
Like, even my wife doesn't have to go through that, and she's a bioengineer. Like, they don't make her prove biology or do they don't make her come in and do wet lab work before they hire her. But I don't know, these tech companies are wild.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak on the experience we've had in the past with hiring people who are inexperienced, but we want to help mentor and train them. We got to figure out a way to test so that they will have like your motivation to show up to work every day and to follow through and really try to learn, and not just get a big head and think that they're just, awesome and get work all day. And, we just need to come up with some way to figure that out.
I personally, I'm old school. I like the idea of just putting people out in the field with operators and foremen who don't take any shit, and kind of letting them get straightened out by some of the old timers. But I know that that's not really acceptable nowadays. But I mean, that's what helped me was, I came in a little more humble than most people, but I think it's understanding like, hey, you got to kind of go through the frying pan a little bit to get to a good point. Like it's not all sunshine and roses out here in construction. You know, somebody told me a great quote is like, if people are willing to mess with you on the job site, like if you go up to somebody in the morning and they're already talking crap to you and it, you can kind of tell when people are being serious or not. But if people are willing to mess with you on the job site, that means you've achieved a level of humbleness that they're willing to accept you into their circle and know that, you're going to dish it out just as good as you can take it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. When I fuck with someone, it means I like them. So
Exactly.
it's like
You're the guy running around pulling the hair of the girls you liked in grade school, right?
no.
Yeah. How about you,
I was
Jared?
too shy.
Any good hiring stories?
Not really. I've never had to struggle to get a job.
How was the process to get in the Marines, right, that you were?
Yeah.
You
Well,
had to
so-
go through testing there, right? Of course. Or no?
I mean, yeah, so every job I've had, well, except maybe this one technically, every job that I've had, I was gonna say we've kind of had that higher testing. It's taken on kind of a hybrid role, right? So the first job I had was Togo's. I got that my junior year of high school. I got the job because my big sister had a job there, but by the time I graduated high school, I was offered an assistant manager position there because I showed up. I showed up every day. I did my work well. I did my work quickly and efficiently, and I showed that I was ready for that responsibility. But what I was going to say is, you go in, you do the interview with the owner, and it's basically talking about, it's more of that personality hire, right? The owner's not expecting you to come in knowing how to make sandwiches. It's, are you going to come in and be willing to learn and smile and service the customers and do all that sort of stuff well, or are you going to show up and be that, all right, welcome to Togo's, I take your order, right? But the Marine Corps, yeah, how do I talk about this? That one's a lot of kind of pre-screening before you're even able to get it, right? Because you show up to the recruiter's office, before anything else happens, you interview with the recruiter, and then you have to do a bunch of like physical fitness training in order to like get yourself ready to even be shipped off to boot camp. And then once they see that you're ready for that, then you go in, you sign your contract, and then between you signing your contract and you actually going to boot camp, going to your training, you're in not BCP, that's completely different. It's the pool program, where you are obligated to show up for all of your weekly trainings and do your mentorships and all that sort of stuff. And if you fuck that up, then you'll get thrown out of the pool. And then you go to boot camp and you go through your, was it 12, 13 weeks of training? Something like that. And if you fuck that up, you get bounced out. It's the weird thing about it is you never fail because something's too hard. And all that sort of stuff. It's so for Togo's, the one job that I did get on my own target for the Marine Corps, you never get bounced out because the work's too hard. Every employer that I've had is always willing to train. They're going to test you and make sure that you're actually learning what you're supposed to be learning along the way. So that's a little bit of that hire by testing, is they are checking in and making sure that you're getting what you need. But the most important thing has always just been trying your best to accomplish the task.
Showing up.
Showing up in every way possible.
Showing up and
Did you see a
pushing.
lot of people get booted out? The Marines? No.
No,
Okay.
it's really hard to go to the Marine Corps because again, as I said, the military training is designed to make you succeed. It's the only two ways you get thrown out is if you legitimately sustain an injury that makes you physically incapable of carrying on the training. I've seen that happen a couple of times, or I've also seen the guys are like, I don't want to be here anymore, and then just basically.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Ring the bell.
Yeah, okay.
What happens if you just say I don't want to be here anymore?
The long story short is that you'll still get kind of pushed into. They'll try to push you into still doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're really just you tap out, I don't want to do this anymore. They go through a separation process. Obviously it's not an honorable discharge. I think it's called a discharge other than honorable, and you lose any and all benefits you would have had by being in the military.
Too bad.
Give it up.
Too bad. Too bad.
Well, I just remember early in my career, the test was if an operator showed up, you said, okay, well, go start that machine. And if the first thing they didn't do was go check the oil and check the water, and they didn't know where to put the key, then you let them go. If they checked the oil, they checked the water, and they knew where the key went, then you let them work. And then it was about whether or not the work they were doing was satisfactory. But yeah, there was no real hiring processes that I was ever a part of. So
That seems pretty crucial though. The oil, I never would have thought of the oil and the water, but it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Pre-flight checklist.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right, guys. Well, we ran a little late today. Anybody got anything before we vamonos?
What chapter are we on next?
11.
11.
11.
We'll be on 11. Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Some leaders no.
I have no clue.
I think there's only a couple more chapters, I believe, right?
I think there's 3 more.
So what I'd like to do next is every one of these books that we've done for the last few months are very action item, task oriented. And I'd like to lighten it up a little bit for a few weeks, especially through the holidays. And well, we're going to be on this one through the holidays, but going into next year. So one book that I really enjoyed was Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. There's another one that's called 3 Feet from Gold, and really great reads, all very positive, talking about mindset, but they don't come with a long list of new things for us to do. So
Start thinking.
The Matthew McConaughey book is phenomenal too, because he narrates the audiobook version.
yeah, that's awesome.
Which is oh man, I love that. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we got 1 vote for McConaughey. 2 votes for McConaughey.
Micro.
I'm good with it. I'm good with McConaughey.
Yeah.
Micro. Okay.
All right. Looks like we're going to be doing
Green light.
All right, guys. Thanks. And we will see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.